In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Namiki Yukari Royale fountain pen. I'll go over the specs, I'll do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about this pen coming up. Blake here with Blake's Broadcast. On this channel, I review fountain pens, paper, and ink, and as always, I put links in the show notes in the description below. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, it really helps out my channel. Alright, let's get on with the review. So here we have the Namiki Yukari Royale in Vermilion Urushi lacquer. This pen, or this line, the Yukari Royale line, is the second largest in terms of size in the Namiki lineup. And for me, this is sort of the best size for a writing pen. They make a Emperor pen, which is the largest pen, and that to me is really more a canvas for painting, whereas this is more of the everyday writer size. Now they do make a Yukari, which is smaller, more similar to the Pilot Custom 74 size, whereas this is an oversized pen. As a comparison, this is a Sailor King F pen, and this is Sailor's biggest oversized pen, and you can see that this is very similar in size. The plain lacquer version only comes in red, or this vermilion, and black, and this line is specifically just called Urushi, and it is the most affordable in the Yukari Royale line. All the other ones have painting on them done by artists, and they get very, very expensive. However, this pen is also not cheap. Retail price for this pen is $1,500, so it is a very expensive pen in its most basic form. Looking at the design, this is what they would call a balance pen design, which is a Japanese or at least an Asian pen style, and it is a style that Pilot and Namiki are the same company. Namiki just tends to be their higher end art pens, I'll say, but Pilot made balance pens that looked very much like this one. I don't know if the old ones were the same quality as this. This is a very, very high quality. But anyway, we're looking at a classic design. The balance pen design is sort of a torpedo or cigar shaped design, but just very simple, elegant pen. So looking at it, we have this sort of triangular clip that terminates in a ball, very classic Pilot design. I think it looks really, really nice. There's no ring where the clip attaches to the cap, so it's very, very clean. On the top of the clip, we do have a serial number, and then at the bottom here we have this very subtle gold ring. I think this is one of the most elegant looking pens that I have. It's just very nice, simple. There's not too much going on here. Now it's a threaded cap, and the threads are painted in urushi lacquer, and I've found that they're quite durable, although they do collect dust, which I occasionally need to clean out of there, but it's a very smooth threading. It feels really, really nice, very high quality, so very good haptics with the threading there. And you can see we're just all urushi lacquer here. There's no metal trim. We have the number 20 18 karat gold nib. This nib has a picture with, I believe it's Mount Fuji, and we have the Namiki logo, which is this pentagon shape. It's a very good looking nib, and you have this oval breather hole. Very, very good looking nib. This is one of my favorite nib designs. Some of the higher end versions of the Yukari Royale have a two-tone nib, and that one is even prettier. This one has a somewhat red feed. I believe this is plastic. On the Emperor, it's a bright red feed for the red or the vermilion lacquer version of that pen. It doesn't translate quite as nicely here. Also, as you use this pen, depending on the inks that you use, it'll look a bit less red with time, whereas you can see this probably doesn't look quite as red as a brand new one. I've had this pen since, I want to say either 2014 or 2015, so I've had it at least 6 years, and I've used it a lot. This is a really nice everyday pen, really nice to write with. But anyway, this is the design. So this is the number 20. This is essentially the same size nib as a Pilot number 15 nib. This one just has the Namiki design, the Namiki breather hole. It's a little bit prettier of a nib than the number 15, but really it's the same size. Now, in terms of nib sizes, Pilot introduced a number 30 nib, which is the same size, as far as I know, as the Namiki number 50 Emperor nib, which is just a very, very big, oversized nib. Also, of course, very pretty nib. Now, this pen takes the standard proprietary Pilot cartridge and converter. It comes with this Con 70 converter, the nicer black one versus the metal trim one. It looks very good. It holds a good amount of ink. I find that for filling this, it's best to fill this in an ink bottle. Using a syringe to fill this is trickier, and I find that these can have more air bubbles in them than a normal piston fill version. So just something to be aware of with this Con 70. It is relatively reliable, but out of the Pilot converters that I've used, I think this one does tend to be more susceptible to air bubbles. So just be aware of that. But of course you can use the regular Pilot cartridges and they work great. Gold trim here. It's just, I love the look of this pen. It's just so simple and nice looking. It's a brass bodied pen, so it does have a little bit of a different feel than an ebonite over urushi pen. This one has a little bit more of a cold feeling. It has a more rigid feeling to it. So it definitely has a different personality than like a Nakaya or a Danny Trio urushi pen. The build quality is really as good as it gets, whereas those other pens feel very handmade. This is done to just a machine level of perfection, even though it is painted by hand. It's really, really exceptional quality. Also, that's another thing that's different between this and the Emperor. The Emperor is ebonite, so it doesn't, even though it's a very big pen, it doesn't quite have the same heft as this pen, and it has a little bit warmer of a feel than this one. But I really love this pen for everyday use. It's super nice. Okay, let's do some measurements. Size-wise, we're about 148 millimeters long, capped. And uncapped, we're looking at about 136 millimeters. I don't post this pen. You can post it. If you look on the inside, it's a little bit hard to see, but there is a felt on the inside of the cap. So that just prevents it from being scratched. Yeah, it's pretty hard to see. But basically, you can post this. I don't. It will stay on there securely. I just don't really want to scratch the pen, and it already weighs quite a bit, so I don't really post this. So I'm not going to do that measurement. In terms of the grip section, it does kind of taper down and then it flutes out at the end. So at the narrowest point, looking at about 10.9, and then at the widest, 13. So wider than average, and it's very, very comfortable. Now, in terms of weight, this is with a converter, empty though, looking at 46.77 grams, pretty heavy, definitely a metal pen, and then 27.85 grams uncapped. And I don't find that to be too heavy. I find that it feels really nice. It feels very high quality in the hand, and I love writing with this pen. I can write a very, very long time with this pen. Let's do the writing sample. This is a medium, and it's Pilot Blue Black. Okay, we'll try fast writing. Okay, I don't know if you noticed it, we did get a skip right here, but otherwise looks pretty good. It's definitely a very wet writing pen, but I do find, if you go really fast like this, you can get it to skip, but in normal writing, no skipping at all. It's a really nice, smooth writer. I really love the nib on this pen. Now, in terms of reverse writing, it can do it, and it is a relatively big difference in the line here. In terms of flexibility, it's definitely a soft nib, but I wouldn't, it's not a flex nib at all, so I don't really try putting pressure on it, but you can get, you know, a bit of a difference there if you do push on it, but I don't recommend doing that. So what are my pros and cons for the Namiki Yukari Royale? The biggest pro for me is the build quality. This is a really nicely made pen. It feels high-end and it looks high-end. It's a very simple, elegant design, but when you see it and experience the pen in person, you understand that this is a very well-made, a very high-end item. Now, I also really like the number 20 Namiki nib. It writes really smoothly, it's soft, it's just an awesome nib to write with. In terms of cons, the most obvious one is the price, $1,500. That's a lot of money for a pen. And you know, Namiki is, I would say, the sort of number one name in urushi pens just historically. If you look at auction prices, their painted urushi pens, especially the ones that they did in collaboration with Dunhill, you know, go into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is sort of the most expensive brand, really, major brand for urushi fountain pens, so you do pay for that. I also think because it's a metal body, if you're someone that wants to experience, you know, a handmade, more traditional urushi lacquer Japanese pen, I don't think that this is a super good option. If you pick something like a Nakaya, for instance, which is handmade, it's ebonite, it has a more organic feeling than this pen does, and it's like a third of the price. So I don't recommend this for people that are looking to experience, you know, an urushi lacquer pen. I think you can get maybe a more interesting experience with different brands like Nakaya or even a Danny Trio. The paint on this is done to perfection, and I think that kind of takes away some of the beauty of an urushi lacquer pen. But anyway, I do love this pen. It's very expensive. So do you guys have this pen? Do you like this pen? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more fountain pen, paper, and ink videos, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much, and until next time.